Okay, so what we have here is a 30-gallon aquarium that was left here in the basement. It hasn't been used in over 36 years. I used to keep Oscars in this tank. The sand is homemade. So what I'm going to try and do is rebuild this aquarium and turn this old setup into a saltwater tank. Old 36-gallon tank. I tested it. It doesn't leak. It hadn't had water in it for over 36 years. I got a plexiglass top for it, which is this here. You never heard of an under gravel filter, but that's what they used 36 years ago. So I've got that. I've cleaned it. It's been soaked in bleach, which is another thing I don't think they do today. It was soaked in bleach and then rinsed in fresh water for a few days and then rinsed off again. So I've sanitized the under gravel filter. I've cleaned up the aquarium, the glass tank, which doesn't leak, and I made a homemade background for it. I'm trying to do this just getting back into the saltwater hobby. Just trying to get things put back together sort of on a budget. So this is the old saltwater hydrometer that I found, and I cleaned that up. I'm going to try and use that again. I know there's more modern ways of testing the salinity on aquariums. This is an old heater, but it does still work. So I am going to try and reuse that. The tubes are a little brown. I think the plastic discolored over the years, but I cleaned it up. I'm gonna try and use it. That's the under gravel filter. Okay, so this is what the under gravel filter looks like. For the millennials out there who never seen this, they just use these expensive, fancy, new filters that are all kinds of crazy things on them. But this is your basic under gravel filter. This goes on the bottom of the tank, and it brings up the air from the lift tubes, and what stays down below the filter is the bacteria, the good bacteria that filters the aquarium. And it's got a lift tube, and I'll put some air stones on that and then connect that to a simple air pump, which will sit on the back, which the air line will be just above the water line, so there won't be no chance of it backfilling. Okay, so I have the dolomite put into the tank, and I left the two ends of the tank with none. I just wanted to cover up the under gravel filter. I'm going to put the Carb Sea Bahama sand in those two ends. That's the live Carb sand, Carb Sea. So I'm going to place the live Carb Sea Bahama sand into the ends of the tank, the two ends. Okay, so I placed the Carb Sea Bahamas sand on the two ends of the tank. The sand comes in the bag wet, and it has an expiration date. So this one was good till 12/20/21. And then I put the rest of the sand on the other end of the aquarium where there was no under gravel filter underneath. And I'm just going to spread that sand out. Okay, so this aquarium tank has been vacant and empty for more than 36 years. The filtration is running. The lighting is on and tested. The heater is being tested now. The water line looks level. The under gravel filters are working. That air pumps are pumping. Everything looks good. Alright, so this is the Polar 3-stage filter. And here is the 40-year-old old school aquarium that's been put back together after sitting for more than 40 years. The tester fish are just in there. They're swimming, they're eating. The tank looks pretty good. A tank that hasn't been used in more than 40 years. It was done old school with an under gravel filter. The only modern appliance on this aquarium, this saltwater reef, is the Polar 3-stage filter. The saltwater mix is Instant Ocean Reef Crystals. The saltwater mix is Instant Ocean Reef Crystals, and we just use tap water right out of the sink. But we let it sit for 3.5 weeks before adding fish. There's live sand, coral rocks, which I got myself in the Florida Keys more than 40 years ago. The fish seem to prefer the LED blue lighting. And they're eating. I keep the temperature of the water a little bit lower. It's between 76 and 75 degrees. The salinity is about in the middle.